Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University.
Hello students, I welcome you to the Chaitanya studio of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University, Ahmedabad. We are dealing with the lecture series of BBA in the subject of secretarial practice and office procedure. This subject runs in 4 blocks. Today, we are going to deal with the last unit, unit number 3 of block 4. Block 4 is titled as Email Etiquette, Report Writing and Statutory Books. From those 3 things, in unit number 3, statutory books forms are highlighted in unit number 3. So, we are going to deal with unit number 3. You know it very well that companies have to maintain certain books. These books are very important for observing, for monitoring of the progress of the company by the registrar of the company. So, it is mandatory for companies to maintain certain books. Normally, these books are categorized into 2 categories. Certain are known as statutory books and certain are known as non-statutory books. We are focusing on statutory books in this unit more. These statutory books are mandatory for the company. If these books are not maintained properly, then actions could be taken against by the company by the registrar of the companies. So, a wonderful provision has been made by the registrar of the companies of monitoring the happenings of the company by asking them, by telling them, by creating that kind of system where companies are supposed to maintain certain books without fail. So, that is why let us focus on them. What are the technically, if I have to talk about unit number 3 of block 4, that what is there? Then you have to see the learning objectives. Statutory books, what the register of members is under the section number 150 and 151, the register of debenture holders under the section number 152 and 154, the minutes books under the section number 193 and 194, the books of accounts as per section number 209/1 and filling of forms and returns. What do you mean by statutory books now? Every company is required to maintain different books and registers for the purpose of records and to secure efficiency in operation. First of all, every company is required to maintain compulsorily different books and register. They are books or registers for the purpose of records. So, it is a one type of, you can say it is a one pattern of record keeping, and to secure efficiency in operation. You will be in a position to operate, that means run your company in a better way, in a smoother way, if these records are maintained properly. Some of these books have to be maintained compulsory by all companies under the provisions of the Company Act. These are known as statutory books. Remember, I repeat the same line so you can understand the importance. Some of these books have to be maintained compulsory. There are different type of books and registers. From those different type of books and register, some of these are to be maintained compulsory by all companies, not applicable to one company. by all companies under the provision of the Company Act. So, the books which are compulsorily to be maintained by any company, they are known as statutory books. What is the importance of these statutory books? Why this kind of system has been developed by the registrar of the companies, or let us say by the government? First of all, register and index of members. This is a, you can say, a comprehensive list of statutory books. First, register and index of members. This is statutory book number 1. It is under the section number 150 and 151 of Company Act, that every company is compulsorily, not supposed to, compulsorily in a position, they have to maintain register and index of members. Second, register and index of debenture holders. Members, that means shareholders. Register and index of debenture holders under the section number 152 and 154. Foreign register of members and debenture holders as per the section number 157 and 158. Register of mortgages and charges, section number 143 of Company Act. Register of investments not held in company's name under the section number 49. You are compulsorily, mandatorily maintain this book. Register of directors, managers, etc. under the section number 303. Register of directors holding shares and debentures under the section number 307. Before I go to the next slide, once again quickly look at it, where they are very important. They are statutory books. Student must remember, you must remember this list. Register and index of members, register and index of debenture holders, foreign register of members and debenture holders, sections are written in the bracket. Register of mortgages and charges, register of investments not held in company's name, minutes book, you know it very well, we are going to discuss it later on. Register of directors, managers, etc. Register of directors holding shares and debentures. Next slide, next group, there are 15 registers or books fall under the category of statutory books. Register of contracts in which directors are interested, section number 301. Books of accounts and annual accounts, section number 209 and 210. The annual return, section number 159 to 161. Register of loans made, guarantees given or securities provided to companies under the sum management, section number 370 and 372. Register of investments in shares of other companies, section number 372. Register of fixed deposits, section number 58A. Register of renewed and duplicate certificates, rule 7 of Companies Act, issue of share certificate, rules 1966. Have a look at it. I am not going to repeat it loudly for you, just read them once again, students. The slide is on your screen. Focus, they all are known as statutory books. Have a look at them, try to remember them, understand them, because that really help you not only understanding the company's provisions and working system, but it also helps you in getting very good marks. From those things, we focus on one or two very important. All 15 are important, but these are called basic things. Every company must have this. Without this it is next to impossible to run the company. So that is why we focus on one or two very important statutory books now. Register of members. Now you know it very well. Under the section number 150 and 151, all companies are compulsorily supposed to maintain this statutory book, which is known as Register of Members. Registers of Members is the most important statutory book of the company. If the question is asked, what is the most important statutory book of the company, then you should immediately respond, it is Register of Members. Then you must know the sections also under the section number 150 and 151. Under the section number 150 of the Companies Act, it is obligatory on every company, whether public or private, to maintain a register of members in one or more books. Now you know it very well. Two main popular categories, public limited company or private limited company. So this rule of statutory book as far as the register of members is concerned is applicable to public limited company as well as to the private limited company. That is why we have written under the section number 150 of the Company Act, it is obligatory. Obligatory, that means compulsorily, no choice is given to you, obligatory on every company, clearly mentioned whether public or private, to maintain a register of members in one or more books. It could be in more than one books, because members are so many. So it cannot be completed in a one book. So there can be more than one books, fine, but applicable to public as well private company. There is another important book on your screen, Register of Debenture Holders. Now you know it very well, the two pillars of any company at the time of establishment. One, shareholders. Second, debenture holders. You know it very well, debenture holders are the loan creditors of the company. So this register is also to be maintained under the category of statutory books. So register of debenture holders, section 152 and 154. The Companies Act also makes it obligatory on the part of every company to maintain register of debenture holders. The particulars of the debenture holders and the debentures held by them are to be entered in register. This is another provision. In your module, the Companies Act of 1956 is followed. Nowadays, we have a new Company Act also. So you can refer new Company Act also for different provisions. But as your module talks about this Company Act 1956, we are also focusing on 1956 Company Act. So there should not be any kind of confusion when you are reading a new Company Act and Company Act of 1956. So when you are reading a module and when you are listening this video lecture, when you are viewing this video lecture, there should be synchronization of the ideas, and that is why we are focusing on Companies Act 1956. So as per the Companies Act 1956, section 152 and 154, register of debenture holders must be maintained, where every company to maintain register of debenture holders, the particulars of the debenture holders, particulars, that means all the details, name, your number, your how many shares you are holding, particulars of the debenture holders, and the debentures held by them are to be entered in register. How many debentures you are holding, that is also to be mentioned, that is also to be maintained on regular intervals. Minutes book, section 193, 194. Now a very familiar word. As I told you, there are 15 statutory books. From these 15, we are focusing on some of the very important, which are known to everybody, which are in common use, and they really design the whole foundation of the organization. Now you know what is minutes book. Main role, if you go in a flashback, now you know it very well. One of the important roles of a company secretary is to arrange, conduct a meeting. Meeting is arranged, information related with the meeting is circulated with the notice, and as we know in report, along with the notice we also send the annual report of the company. When this meeting is held as per the agenda, you know it very well what is agenda also. Points to be discussed in the meeting, business to be carried out in a meeting. This agenda help in running the meeting smoothly. So meetings run as per the agenda, but whatever is discussed in the meeting, whatever is decided in the meeting is to be maintained, is to be recorded somewhere, and that somewhere is known as minutes books. So a book, a register where minutes of the meeting are recorded, registered, is known as minutes book. Minutes books are very important. I take one more minute to talk about minutes book, because according to me, minutes books really help in taking major decision of the company, because whatever is finalized by the shareholders after lot of discussion, lot of amendments are made, lot of resolutions are made, decisions are taken, they are to be implemented. But at the time of implementation, you need to have some concrete detail that on the basis of this you are taking this decision or you are making this decision. So that is why minutes books are to be maintained properly, and you know it very well that shareholders can have the access of the minutes book. These minute books are kept at the register office for a period of 7 days. Once the meeting is over, all the data of the minutes book can be availed by any shareholder by visiting that office, that register office during the office hours. And if you wish to get some data of that minutes book, you can get the copy of the minutes book also. But as per the rules and the regulation of the company, you are supposed to make payment to the company for getting the copy of the minutes book. So let us understand, try to understand under the section number 193 and 194, minutes books are to be maintained. Section 193 imposes a statutory obligation on every company causing minutes of all proceedings of general meetings, proceedings of general meeting, board meetings and meetings of the committees of the board to be recorded. Minutes may be defined as I discussed earlier, yet it is written here, I am repeating it. Minutes may be defined as the written record of the business transacted at the meeting. So this is to be maintained by you. Books of accounts as per section number 2091. Books of accounts are also very important as far as the statutory books are concerned. Every company has to maintain are proper books of accounts. The books of accounts may be kept on a single entry system or a double entry system. It depends what type of accounting pattern you have followed in your organization, but books of accounts under the section number 2091 of the Company Act are to be maintained by you. Fine, the books of accounts may be kept on a single entry system or on a double entry system. Filling of forms and returns for involving yourselves in all the company's procedure. There are n number of forms and returns are to be filed, and these forms and returns for different reasons are to be filled up by you in a specific format as per the rules and regulation. And this unit also take up one of the components of this unit is related with the forms and returns. So, let us try to talk about this. The main purpose of the Company Act is to exercise control over the companies. There should be some monitoring over the company. There should be some control over the companies, and for that this kind of Company Acts are made. Various forms, documents and returns are prescribed to be filled with the registrar of the companies. Certain forms, certain returns, certain documents as per the happenings. Thus, the registrar gets information from the companies. For everything you have to fill up the form. Now, when you fill up the form, that one of the copies of the form also goes to the registrar of the companies. So, registrar will be in a position to get each and every detail about the happening of the company. The people who are responsible for the management of the company, like the directors, managers, secretaries, etc., will have a sense of responsibility that they should not give wrong or false information. See, when you have to fill up the form, you have to be conscious that you cannot provide any false information. Otherwise, legal actions will be taken against you. And when you provide all the correct information, registrar of the companies will have all the details of you, of directors, of the managing directors, all the people concerned. So, sense of responsibility that they should not give wrong or false information. They are not only accountable, you are responsible, but also liable for wrong practices. If you have provided any incorrect detail or fact in this form, it is taken as wrong practices, malpractices. And remember, if you are involved in any kind of bad practices, malpractices, misconduct, penalty, legal actions are always lurking. So, be alert while filling up any detail. The document, forms and returns, etc., to be filled with the registrar are two types. There are two types basically, forms or documents related with registrar of the companies. One, documents filled every year, and second, event based forms. Now, you know it very well. Documents filled every year, certain things are to be sent every year. Let us say annual general report, it is to be sent every year. Financial statement is to be sent every year. Balance sheet is to be sent every year. But event based on forms, suppose certain changes has taken place. Now, it does not happen every time. So, this is called one event. One director might have resigned, or company is planning for merger or amalgamation, or company is interested in doing something. Suppose one director has resigned and now new director is to be appointed, or let us say the auditor of the company has decided not to work for this company because of some dispute with the company, and at that time this registrar of the companies will be in a position to know about the change that take place in the company on the basis of this event based form. Consent to act as director. There are n number of forms, but in your syllabus this one category is there. So, that is why we are focusing on consent to act as director. Section 264 requires that consent of the person who is ready to act as a director, it is required to be filled with the registrar of companies. This section is not applicable to independent private companies. Form number 29 is prescribed for this purpose. Form number 29 is required to be filled in duplicate. There are n number of forms, there are n number of returns, but one of the forms that is discussed included in your syllabus is related with the consent to act as director. Now, when somebody is giving the consent to act as director, the section 264 of the Company Act requires that consent of the person who is ready to act as a director, it is required to be filled with the registrar of the companies. This section is not applicable to independent private companies. It is not applicable to independent private companies. Which number form is to be filled? Form number 29 is prescribed for this purpose, and this form number 29 is required to be filled in duplicate. So, students, today we have dealt with unit 3, that is titled as statutory books, forms and returns, of the block 4, that is titled as email writing, report writing and statutory books. It is very necessary for any company to maintain different type of books. There are two main categories, statutory books and non-statutory books. As per the Company Act, certain books are to be maintained compulsorily by private company or a public company under the Company Act. These books are known as statutory books. There are 15 categories are discussed in your module. You refer them. From those 15 categories, the three important we discussed today. One is register of members, register of the debenture holders and the minutes books. We also talked about some of the forms and returns which are to be filed by the company. Certain forms are to be filled with the registrar of the company every year, and certain forms are to be filed with the registrar of the company on event basis. One of the forms that is discussed in your module is related with the consent of a director, and if somebody is giving the consent of being the director of a one company, that person is supposed to fill up the form 29 in 2 copies and supposed to submit the registrar. So, students, please focus. I am definitely going to repeat and emphasize this thing, that your module of all the blocks are designed so wonderfully. They are very useful. Conditions apply if you read them line to line. So, do one thing, read line to line, each and every line of your each and every block, each and every unit. Listen, view these video lectures, make your concepts clear and be master in this subject. Thank you very much. Smart
स्वाध्यायः